Hi, my name is Andrew. I'm going to be doing my TED Talk summary review over the video. And before I start, I don't know how bad it looks on the camera, but I scratched my eye earlier, so it looks really red, so I do apologize about that. But getting right into it, the TED Talk was about a young girl named Heather. She was born profoundly deaf, and she grew up deaf by two deaf parents. She was deeply rooted in deaf culture. She signed, she affiliated with deaf culture. Her parents were deaf, but she did spend a lot of time with hearing people, such as her grandparents. They were hearing, so that would make her parents codas. She also spent like a lot of time growing up with like other kids that were hearing. She really wanted to fit in, and so she wanted to get implants. So she had asked her parents if she could get implants, and they said no. Like, they were not gonna let that happen. They felt like she was abandoning her culture and abandoning the values that her parents had instilled on her at that age. And when I heard that part, I could understand where the parents were coming from. When you have a child and you're trying to instill the values that you believe, is how life should be lived, and your kid wants to disagree with it, you could obviously see like, whoa, and especially at that age where they don't know if the decision they're making is correct and stuff like that. So I can understand where the pushback could be a little much. The family actually moved her to Maryland so she can go to a predominantly like deaf school, and so she can still keep the deaf identity in here. But she was, once again, she was still not having it. She actually saw what happened to her dad. What happened to her dad in New York. He kept on being overlooked by jobs because he was deaf, and they saw him as less. They saw him as a lesser employee. That he wouldn't be able to do the things as like a human person could do, and they thought that there was some type of intelligent barrier with just because he was deaf, and she didn't want that for herself. So at the age of 9, she got her first cochlear implants. She even began speech therapy at this time. She also enrolled in school sports. She went to a mainstream school. She really, did it all and assimilated. She talked about this thing that I really enjoyed, which was called Heather's World. And she was talking about that, she created this like space for her that she didn't have to identify with like a certain world. She didn't identify like, oh, I am a deaf individual, or I am a hearing individual with cochlear implants. This was Heather's world. She didn't have to be, one or the other. And I thought this was really cool. Because like she's pushing this message and this narrative that I feel like a lot of young people need to hear nowadays, because the world's in a very interesting space right now, and the youth, I feel like the youth is under attack right now. Like, our expression can be very much like almost hated on and like not accepted by a lot of people. And she's kind of telling you that, hey, like, you don't have to be binded by an identity placed on you. The identity that was placed on her was that she is a deaf individual, and that she is a part of deaf culture. And, whenever she wanted to abandon that deaf culture, it was very frowned upon. And, these kids, like, when there's a certain identity placed on them, that they have to abide by it, that they have to live that way, even though that they are their own person. Individuality is something that separates everyone. That's what makes us human, is our own, emotions and characteristics and likings. So this message can go for anyone, especially when you're struggling to express yourself and you're struggling to be heard, or, let people know how you truly feel. This TED Talk is great for anyone, and it's a very powerful message, because like I said, Heather was born and placed as this identity that you're a deaf individual, but she didn't want to live that life. She didn't want to be treated like the way her dad was treated in the workplace. And so it's a great message. I very much enjoyed the TED Talk. I really do want to read her book, The Sound of Fury. It's just an overall great message, and I believe everyone should hear it. So thank you.